All right, what is this video called? How long can I survive in a gas station?
How long could you secretly live in a 7-Eleven?
7-Eleven to be
without
exact.
Getting caught. To find out, I went to the most extreme lengths to live inside of a store where the employees never leave. And the first day of my brand new life was starting right now.
How's it going? Good.
This is Mr. Beast now.
Bro, this place is so small. It's just me and the employees. You're probably wondering how I have all these security angles set up. Earlier, I sent my buddy in posing as a fake security company. The employees think the owner hired him to install brand new cameras.
Jesus.
But really, they're all mine.
And since my only goal was to secretly live here forever,
The most important thing is to find a place to hide, but there are not that many spots in here. I might
Bro,
be
about to
able
get those
fit
crates?
back there. I'll just die in here.
Die in
The
here.
freezer can't fit in there. There is literally nowhere to hide.
Bro, gotta move all of those
I guess
crates.
It's a good thing that I built one. Earlier today, my friends and I came here posing as Celsius delivery guys. Oh yeah. Bro, we are causing a
This is
scene
extremely
right now.
illegal.
Yeah. Closer? Should I go closer to this side? We are so close. Just trying to be as low key as I possibly can. Oops. Please don't look over here. Please don't look over here.
Hey, the owner, so the owner is in on it, which he's not here, of course, but the employees don't know.
if I was going to live here, I needed to get in and out of my house without anybody noticing.
There's so many people in here right now. Here we go.
But the second I cracked open the door,
Oh my gosh. Nothing suspicious going on here. Oh, this is gonna be tough. I've secretly lived in a few different places, but this is
The
going
fuck?
to be the most challenging yet. Alright, the employees aren't looking. This might be my chance. Go. Here we go.
That small ass.
Welcome to my home. Let me give you a tour.
The
Over
fuck?
here, we have our cooking station. We got the soundproofing on the entire thing so I can speak at a normal volume. I feel like the reason I might lose this is not because I get found, but because I cook like a rotisserie chicken inside of this thing. It is so hot, I might actually get cooked. I also have live access
Cooking
to
in
all of
there?
my hidden
Wow, is
cameras
that
inside the
hot?
store, which is important because I'm gonna be sneaking my fiance in here, my friends in here. I got all kinds of shenanigans cooking up for this place. Speaking of, I am going to use these to get out of here because we have some things to do.
because to live here forever, I needed food.
Ooh.
But the second I stepped outside my house, I had visitors.
This guy's
Bro.
bringing an employee to the back right now. Oh my
Mouth on the
gosh.
slush. He didn't put his mouth on the
Which was
slushy
not
machine.
great, because this whole video has exactly one rule.
It was pouring from the
Don't
slushy machine
get
into his
caught.
mouth.
With employees constantly on my front lawn, I just had to wait for my moment.
Okay, the coast is clear.
This is a
Now
big
that I
ass
was
TV.
out, I could finally check off the next thing on my list: food. Because when you live inside a 7-Eleven,
All the food is technically free. What are we hungry for? We got
Bro.
mac and cheese. Okay. What do we have over here? Some sushi. All right, we got the classic 7-Eleven nachos here. I
Have
know I'm
7-Eleven
being watched
nachos?
right now. Just a man getting some nachos. Nothing to see over here.
The fuck? I didn't even know it was a thing.
It's so quiet and empty in here. Let me just get inside.
Are they
so
good,
I can
chat? Has anyone tried 'em?
demolish This free food.
now the owner of this store is the only person on the planet who knows I'm living here, and not a single employee or customer has a clue.
How you doing? Beautiful day. All right, this is my best chance of getting in. Here we go. Come on.
My grubby little hands couldn't wait any longer. Those nachos were calling my
Shit,
name.
nachos do sound pretty good right now, I can't lie. Did he spill
All
it?
right, the employees are busy. Let's
Did
shut
this
up the
fucker just spill the
damage.
fucking nachos?
Those nachos were calling my name.
All right, the employees are
Son.
busy. Let's check out the damage. Oh no. Oh my gosh. What the freak do I do? Ew, dude. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, there's so many people here, bro. This doesn't even feel real. Oh my gosh, this is starting so badly.
My dream house was 2 seconds from getting cooked.
Shit, nachos sound pretty good right now.
Destroyed. I need a brand new house. Dude, the guy at the front is so suspicious. I don't know if we can recover from this. Okay, the coast is clear. Oh, ew, dude. My whole
It smells like fucking cheese.
Nacho cheese. All right, should we look at our haul? 7-Eleven sushi. I don't think I would usually eat this, but I am so desperate right now.
Yeah, boy.
All right,
The ATM.
7-Eleven bacon, egg, and cheese croissant. We're gonna heat this bad boy up.
That shit is nothing compared to the.
Okay, it's in there.
The
Oh, it's
fuck?
smoking, it's smoking, it's smoking, it's smoking, it's smoking.
This
There's
is
somebody
nuts.
outside right now. Please don't burn
Shit
down.
is nothing compared to the 7-Elevens in Japan. The 7-Elevens in Japan are
It
fire.
couldn't really go much worse than it's going right now, to be totally honest with y'all. I gotta find a better way to do food, bro. I also have this nifty little survival checklist over here that I have to complete in order to prove
get like a
that
small little,
hypothetically
like,
I could
pan?
live here forever.
But I was not prepared for the
Small little heat
challenges
pan?
that living inside a 7-Eleven would bring. Speaking of challenges, living here for just 5 hours had
Bro.
me dying of thirst.
The one thing I forgot while I was out there is water. So I'm gonna go out there and get a week's worth of supply. So these employees have seen me walking around their store all day. So I need a little disguise.
The
It's all I
fuck?
could fit in my backpack, okay? All right, I'm gonna try to get out of here.
The thing about living in a 7-Eleven, people are never more than 5 feet away from you.
There's someone out there. They're right outside. It's so tight in here, and there are so many people.
Damn, how long is this motherfucking shift? The 7-Eleven guy shift.
Freaking ice cream.
He's been here all day.
Go away, go away, go away, go away, go away. This is gonna be my opportunity here in a second. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go.
Nah, 7-Eleven Japan is fire. You guys just don't know ball. If you've been to Japan, you know that shit is insane. That shit's amazing. Compared to the one here.
So to stop risking a heart attack every trip, it was time to test my disguise and stock up on enough supplies to last me weeks.
I'm gonna get about 1 billion Celsius. Oh, this is gonna last.
Does the
me
motherfucker look?
literally
Bro, that shit is.
eternity.
It's
My
really
disguise
fucking
is
good.
Somehow working right now.
That shit is really fucking good, bro. I wish our 7-Eleven was Japan's. That
But when
shit
you
is
live inside a
way
7-Eleven
better.
For 6 hours and make
The food is so
stupid
good.
decision to chug a full-sized
What the
Big Joy,
fuck?
there is only one thing that can happen next.
In
the bathroom.
I have to go to the bathroom. Also, I love shoplifting. I've been trying to hold it this entire time. On the security cameras today, I've seen people going to the bathroom over there. I think it's in the back corner.
Unfortunately, that bathroom was for employees only, meaning the only way was sprinting to that door while both employees were completely distracted.
He has to go to the one in the store
Somehow
still.
get him away from that front desk.
My Crocs were officially in sport mode, ready to make the run, but seconds before my move, this employee was watching me a little too closely.
Dude, that guy's on to me. Bro, I have to go pee so bad. This is like an existential crisis.
And the longer I waited for the perfect move, the closer I got to blowing my cover. So with my bladder seconds from exploding, I did the only thing I could.
Guys, listen.
Oh
I'm
no.
not proud of what I'm about to do, but I'm gonna turn this camera off.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. It was a hard
LTG
day
method
today,
is
but
crazy.
we will come back with a vengeance. I don't like you guys looking at me from this angle. I'm turning the lights off
That angle was
now.
crazy, by the way.
But Mafia, I did not understand just how insane it gets at 7-Eleven after midnight. Looking back at this footage, I actually could not believe my eyes. But while I was sleeping, there were literal
He
shoplifters.
pisses in the bottle. Why? He said it's more sanitary. His words. Oh, what the fuck?
That employee went full American Ninja Warrior chasing this dude down. And if they did all that over a hot dog, What would they do to a guy who's been stealing food all day?
That guy stole a hot
Let alone
dog?
Living in I was sleeping. There were literal shoplifters.
Oh, wow.
An employee went full American Ninja Warrior chasing this dude down. And if they did all that over a hot dog, what would
Over
they
a hot
do
dog?
to a guy
Damn.
who's been stealing food all day, let alone living inside of their store?
Morning, guys. Check sleep off the list. Bro, I got a 95.
Wait, how many days does he have to
score?
stay for
I didn't
this?
even get that in my own bed.
And I was gonna need all that energy because today was full of genius plans. Just one problem, this employee didn't let anything slide.
We got somebody new at the front. I'm just realizing they changed the channel from the game to the security cameras, bro. They have a
GG.
perfect angle on my door right there. I have to get out of here while she's not looking at the cameras.
I was starving, and the only way I was getting a free breakfast was by facing danger head on.
I just need to wait for somebody to talk to her. We're almost safe. All right, here we go.
Oh, Clash of Clans.
Look over here. Oh, please don't see me. Please don't see me. Oh my gosh. I think we're okay for now. All right, first orders of business this morning are to make breakfast.
Now the only thing
He
standing
plays his
between
cameras.
me and enjoying
Yeah,
my
it is
breakfast was this
guys
employee.
disguised as tech
So
company
I
come
became
in
one with the customers.
and play some around the shop.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Gotta get my 2%, you know what I mean? Of course, a hot cup of Joe. Joe Mama, am I right?
But clearly, I was not
Is he
doing the best
drinking
job at
cereal
blending in.
This
with
lady at the
coffee?
front is
Huh.
watching me, bro. I don't know how I'm even gonna get back in my house while she's on shift.
Coffee and cereal is interesting.
Camera here. She's watching. I'm just on a phone call. Nothing suspicious. I'm just on my phone. Don't look over here, lady. Please. Hurry, 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 hurry. Picking up Celsius. Oh my gosh.
She should have saw that.
She is watching so closely. All right, we got breakfast here. I have a big day planned. I have some friends coming in, and then my fiance is coming here for date night tonight. Why did I pour the milk first?
That's brain dead.
But while I was busy with breakfast, my house was busy blowing up the electricity bill.
My biggest problem right now, my batteries are about to die. I have no power to charge my phone, any of my cameras in here.
Meaning I would have no way to check the security angles on my phone. The one thing that had kept me alive so far.
Can you have
So
like a
I'm gonna try
portable
to steal the store's power. Okay, here we go.
sun? It is soundproof. It's not
Please don't
that
go
much.
there. I'm gonna use this extension cord. I just gotta make sure she's not watching what I'm doing. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, I think I'm good. Please work, please work.
What the
please
fuck?
Work, please work. Oh my gosh, we did it, we did it, we did it. Did it. I'm the Benjamin Franklin of 7-Eleven, bro.
The Benjamin
next thing I
Franklin
need
of
to invent
7-Eleven.
is a shower. Guys, I stink.
Ain't no
I
way
need
you
two
taking a
things to
fucking
take
shower at a
I need
7-Eleven,
water,
bro.
I need to get to the bathroom, and I need a distraction. It's a good thing I have all three of those things planned.
Now, in order to pull any of this off, I've recruited my friend Walker to be my distraction.
Walker, can you hear me?
I am in my Amazon Prime delivery outfit.
And his job was to keep these employees distracted so I could steal all the water I needed and make my way into the bathroom without them noticing.
They're not letting anybody in that bathroom.
Let's ride.
Let's do this.
While Walker started his distraction, step one was stealing the store's water using a Reddit meme I brought to life. The soda stealing backpack.
Excuse me.
Dead ass.
Can I get some help on the Amazon locker back here? I'm trying to make this delivery, and it's making me wait like 2 minutes. It just has me keep like doing like over and over again. I'm trying to put the code in and it won't work.
Walker's distraction was working perfectly, but my window was being held hostage by a man. No, a soda connoisseur.
Something wrong?
but this one's too watery. This one, not that watery. It starts getting hot, it's not a right mix. This one actually just tastes good.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And by now, the distraction was working so well.
Oh my God, bro!
Walker's
Just pick
side.
something.
And I put the 6-digit codes in there. Like I put it all in there.
Our peppers is way too watery.
Do they have water on here anywhere?
I don't see the water.
Oh, there's a sink over here.
Actually do.
All right, let's see if this thing works.
I'm not a coach trainer.
It's working. It's working. It's working. Please don't look over here. Please don't look over here.
But if I was gonna get into that bathroom, Walker needed to deliver an Oscar-worthy performance.
Competitive soda drinker.
Right
This
here.
one's
I
too
just wanna-
watery. This one's too watery.
locked. Bro, this is absolutely ridiculous.
All right, I'm done. 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 I gotta detach from this.
I finally had my water, but right as I made my move for the bathroom, I came face to face with 7-Eleven's final boss, and she immediately noticed something.
Your water and your backpack is leaking.
Oh, really?
Look.
And she was actually pointing to the subscribe button.
It's my first day. This is the correct address.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have that card?
I've got the code. My scanner's not working right now. I mean,
Oh, this is so bad. This is so bad. It's leaking.
Guys, if you're enjoying this video, I make mischievous videos like this every single week. And every 1 million subscribers we go up on this channel, I have
Jesus
to do
Christ.
whatever the top comment says. So far, I have to sneak into the White House, legally change my name to Diddy, and sneak into Area 51. Yeah, I actually have to do those.
Thank you so much.
You could drop the water in the.
Okay, I'll just drop this. Yeah.
when I
Anything
just
for a
feel
bag.
confident,
Like, I don't know.
Crank this up here. Like, what's the?
Just scan the barcode.
Anything
and
for a
put
bag.
the code, it's off.
Excuse me, ma'am. There's some like coffee pots in the sink. Yeah, I think someone left them in here.
I've done it like 4 different times and it won't let me do it. I've got the confirmation and everything. I mean, I'm honestly about to like have a slight panic attack.
So hit the subscribe button. It means more to me and my friends than you know. And leave a comment because I might just actually have to do it.
I'm hoping she didn't see me.
Somehow, some way, I was standing inside the employee-only bathroom, which meant I was one
How you gonna take a shower in
away
here?
from checking off hygiene.
We're in. We're in. They said we couldn't do it. They said you'll never make it into the bathroom. What the? What is this? The only problem is there's no lock on that door. Walker is still mid-altercation.
Like I said, it's my very first day. I just kind of got let go from my other thing.
Walker, I'm in the bathroom. You're good.
I'm so sorry about that. I don't want to cause any trouble. Hey, bro, appreciate it, man. Thank you,
What's
man.
your name?
Walker, man. Nice to meet you, brother. Golly, why is that not working?
And thanks to Walker, I can
That's
finally
crazy.
get cleaned up.
I need to shave. I need to brush my teeth. I need a shower.
How the fuck you gonna take a shower in here?
Oh, it's a motion sensor.
7-Elevens in America don't have showers, but I don't know. I've never been to a 7-Eleven bathroom.
Do that now.
No, we don't have shower.
7-Eleven shower, top 3 greatest showers of my life. Bro, it feels so good.
Where's the water going?
But getting clean was only the first part because I still had to make it out of this bathroom without getting caught.
I'm just watching the cams and waiting for a perfect time to sneak back out.
Got it!
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I must have been a cat with 9 lives because I got
Bro.
out of a sticky situation yet again.
Dude, I feel like a new man. I could do this forever. Check hygiene off the list. Oh my god.
And since
Sure.
I still had plenty of diabolical plays planned for tonight, I needed a quick power nap.
It's a really good nap spot.
It's like, you know, like when you play like Assassin's Creed or like even like the Hitman game, or like, you know how like NPCs just have like no fucking awareness.
If you guys don't know, Hope and I have had a
That shit
weekly
real.
event that we do not miss. And tonight is date night. And I don't care if I'm stuck in a 7-Eleven. Date night is happening.
And I had just the plan to make it happen, with a little help from my wingman.
All right, Ty, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm ready for my big first day. I'm really nervous.
My buddy Tyler has helped
First
me
day
not
is
get caught on
crazy.
date night time and time again. His mission, pose as a fake new employee and keep the real ones distracted while Hope and I have date night in this freezer.
You're gonna have to be the world's
In the
worst employee
freezer.
in order to make that happen. Can you do that for me?
Brother, there's 2 things I'm good at here.
One is being the best wingman. The second is being the worst employee that ever existed. I am gonna get fired in the next half an hour, and you're gonna have the best date night you've ever had.
Date night in the freezer is crazy.
I'd be in Tyler's ear the whole time, telling him exactly what to do.
All right, Ty, I need you to go up to the cashier and say that you're here to train.
How you doing, bro? Hey, I'm here to train.
Oh my gosh.
The owner told me to come in for training today.
No, the 7-Eleven has most of what I need. We've got drinks, we've got food, but it's missing the romantic stuff. So my plan is to place an Uber Eats order.
Today? Huh? Today? Yeah.
We're gonna get flowers, candles, wine glasses, mochi, fold-out chairs. I think that should be good.
Today.
Okay, Ty, introduce yourself to the manager. I had the owner brief him earlier that a new guy was starting today.
Hey, Tyler. I'm very good, bro. Excited to train. Where should I start? You gonna go over there? Go over there? Okay, okay.
But what I did not expect was the employees putting him to work immediately.
Immediately?
Huh? Yeah, yeah.
Bro, they're throwing him into the deep end.
They throw people on the desk like that? What the fuck? What's up, Samantha? We're watching a video where this guy stays in a 7-Eleven for he secretly lives in a 7-Eleven
Showed up. Tyler was about to
for like
be
72
way
hours
too
or
busy
something.
to distract anyone.
Just like that? They just throw people behind the counter?
First day.
Ty, the delivery guy's almost here. You're gonna have to finish that up so you can cause a distraction for me. Hurry, Ty, hurry.
Okay, how do the food?
Bro, what?
Okay, perfect. Finalize and pay.
Ty, I need you to hurry. He's literally turning the corner right now.
Here you are, sir. Have a good one, man. Oh, bag. Here you are, brother.
The bum.
Oh, that's on me. Sorry about that.
When you give him any hot food, make sure you take a gloves.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna learn fast. I promise. I'm gonna be the best guy you've ever hired.
And
He was eating
finally,
hot dogs
the
with no
delivery guy
bun?
showed up, and I had to meet him outside.
Ty, I'm gonna need you to get this guy distracted into the back room or something.
Can you guys mind showing me around and stuff? Yeah.
Ty, get them away quick. I'm heading out.
Oh, what's back here?
Yeah, it's a back here, the back room with the slush.
I hope he didn't see me.
Put in the Slurpee.
Oh, whoa.
How's it going? You have a delivery?
This for you?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yes, that's
Jesus.
me. Thank you. Appreciate that.
for you.
Thank you. Ty, when I walk in, I need you to make sure they don't see me, okay?
But there was one problem.
I'm in the cooler with one of them. I'm in the cooler.
There's
is
two
there
of
anybody in
them.
the front right now?
I don't know. I got one of them is not here.
Since Tyler was away, I decided to check myself. And made direct eye contact with the manager.
Oh, there's a guy. Ty, I need you to come distract this guy right now.
So Tyler finally swooped in
Ty, please hurry.
to finally distract the manager.
How do you operate this?
For pizza.
For pizza? Do you guys?
Yeah, we make the pizza here, and we make the cookies here.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. What is that? Do you do it every morning or what?
No, we cooking.
That was nice. That was nice.
He hears the noise. He knows he came in though,
I
no?
still ordered a few more items that were waiting for me outside.
Okay, Tyler,
He
I need
ordered
to get these
fucking
table and
chairs.
chairs inside.
Tyler couldn't keep them away for long. They were both up front right by the entrance, which meant Tyler had to pull a distraction so ridiculous they couldn't look away.
This is so.
Your code word is Big Chungus when they're not looking, okay?
You guys ever dance? No? I invented this new dance move. You ready? It's like big chungus, big chungus, big chungus. You go like this, keep going, you keep going. You go like that, and you go break it down like that. You break it down like that. You keep going like that, and you go chung, 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 chung. Huh. You like that one?
Ty, listen to me. From here on, your job is to make sure that these guys do not go into that freezer.
I don't have a lot of friends. You have a lot of friends?
Yeah, also.
That's good.
Hope was on her way, so I didn't have long before I had to get the perfect date night ready.
Jesus. Oh, they put this shit back to the cameras.
Maybe maybe? I know, I watched, it was so good. I don't know anything about these teams at all.
Okay, they're watching the World Cup right now, so they shouldn't be able to see any of the footage in here.
So I finished my date night setup while they were distracted, and with Hope just minutes away, I still needed to get us dinner.
Ty, I need you to distract them so that I can come around the corner and grab wings. Say you see a rat back there and ask both of them to come back there.
Okay, I got you. Guys, this is crazy. There's a rat. Okay. A rat. It ran this way. It went under here. Big rat. Here? Yes.
I was willing to do anything to make sure I had food ready for date night, including this. I genuinely have no clue how this guy did not see me. And when the cashier didn't chase me, I was genuinely shocked I got away with this.
No way. No way. I just got him.
You didn't see? I saw it. Yes, big, huge rat. Massive.
Okay, all right. We got food.
Which was perfect timing because Hope had just pulled up. And if this date night went well enough, maybe I could convince her to live here with me forever.
Wow, there she is. She's so beautiful. Ty, I need you to keep that guy busy as long as possible so I can give Hope a tour.
He was massive. I tried to grab him.
Welcome to your new home.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, I mean, it's right here.
Wait.
He was like the size of a raccoon.
The raccoon.
All right, check it out.
What the? Oh my God. It's nice.
We're gonna raise kids in here.
No, we're not.
Maybe he escaped while I was coming to grab you.
If you have
He got the broom out.
I gotta have these. Those kind of look good. I'm gonna get pickle.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe he's gone. It's okay. He wasn't hurting anybody, I guess.
Tyler couldn't hold this guy's attention hostage for any longer. So Hope and I's only option was to make a run for it.
Go.
Oh, that's cool.
Go.
Back here?
Yeah.
Oh, this is our date.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna push this over here so that they can't see us. Hurry, sit down.
Okay.
Come closer,
You're so
come closer,
bossy.
come closer. They can see us through the glass right here. Somebody can come in here and grab drinks at any time.
I'm eating on the job. I'm the worst employee ever.
You eating already?
Huh?
You eating already?
I took a small break.
Happy date night.
Happy date night.
Small break.
you.
Missed you. This is our first date night, I think. Engaged.
Oh my gosh, is it?
Show them.
Yeah. Engaged.
I got you flowers.
Aw.
There you go.
Thank you. Are they gonna think that I'm stealing these when I leave with them?
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Tyler, make sure that nobody comes to this freezer, please God. You got to keep your eyes on the freezer.
Okay.
Now, Tyler might have been keeping the employees distracted, but that didn't mean that we were in the clear.
Wings probably cold as shit.
There's somebody coming.
Oh.
You guys play any sports?
Yeah.
What sports?
Secret.
I've tried it once. I hurt my finger really bad.
Are you sure it's not Tyler?
No, it was a lady. Tyler, you're doing so good. Just
Jesus
keep the
Christ.
employees behind the counter.
Perfect. You have a phone number? I learned that phone number line from you.
So what has engaged life been like?
I love engaged life. It's so happy. I just kind of feel like we. That noise scared me.
Keep going.
Okay, well, I love engaged life.
Jesus.
I feel like we've been in just a really happy bubble. God, the door's closing every time it freaks me out.
Meanwhile, Tyler was non-stop yapping at his employees to keep their attention at the front.
You guys should hook up like a PlayStation here. You plug in like imagine? That would be fun.
I'm just excited to get married.
Yo, they hate this guy.
If you guys don't know, Hope and I dated for
He's cooking
7
though.
years before we were engaged.
He's fucking
So
cooking.
think
I
moving
can't hate.
to
He's
next level
cooking.
together is very beautiful.
It's awesome.
Tyler had proven to be such a liability at this job that the workers weren't watching anything else but him.
Of course you can. It's my first day, so give me one moment. I'm a little slow.
No worries.
Did he just scan the shit twice?
Have a good one. I'm a natural.
Okay, what else we got?
If you look right over your shoulder, you'll see your favorite dessert.
I was getting with this. The only person that knows he's doing this is the store owner. The employees don't know.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
You're getting pretty good at this.
Well, I've had practice over a couple sneaky date nights.
We've done date night in a water park, mall, grocery store twice, and now a 7-Eleven.
This is like the least amount of square feet that you've had to work with before, so I'm very curious to see how you pull this off.
Tyler was so locked in that even the customers started distracting the employees for him.
I'm the best customer.
One. You are. Okay.
Is she?
Okay, I see. You dance, you get stuff for free. Woo! Oh,
Oh.
We gotta have
Wow.
some Slurpees.
Oh, cute.
What flavor do you want? You're good.
Cherry.
I'm gonna get blue raspberry. I'm gonna go get it for us right now.
Now that I was going out into the open, I was relying on Tyler more than ever to keep the employees' attention away from me.
you have 50, 60, 64. Here's all you need.
But I was gone from the freezer, which meant Hope was completely on her own.
I gotta give you 1 penny. Hold up.
That I gotta duck every time.
Employees seem to be occupied right now.
Never let your guard down.
All right, here we go.
I just gotta take these back to the freezer.
Oh, 59 cents.
After your number.
Oh, you have to. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. The drinks get me. They get me messed up. One day I'll be the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah, bro.
Yay! Thanks for getting there.
Yeah, bro.
How long are you gonna stay here?
I mean, I live here now, so how long until you move
Oh.
in?
I'm not moving in.
What?
I think we should secretly live somewhere luxurious. That's like got amenities.
You wouldn't want to
got
live in a
views.
7-Eleven, chat? Would y'all live in a
you're done.
7-Eleven with your partner?
So cool.
Yeah, I think we're probably done here. We're gonna have to sneak you back out.
Now, to sneak Hope out and get me back
No,
to my house,
why?
Tyler needed
Why not? It's
one
unlimited food.
final distraction. His biggest
Don't
performance
ask me that shit,
yet.
bro.
And for some
Unlimited food.
reason, he chose a tale of heartbreak.
My girlfriend broke up with me yesterday.
Why, bro?
I don't know. We were together for 6 years. Yeah, she cheated on me. Yeah, it's not good. She's been cheating on me on and off for the last 2 or 3 years.
Love you.
Good luck being sneaky.
I want to forgive her.
Bye.
So as Hope headed for the front door, Tyler took his distraction to a level I did not see coming.
You made me realize. I'm gonna get her back. I'm
Oh.
gonna get her back. I'm gonna run to her house. I'm gonna run to her house, actually. I'm gonna run to her house. She's 5 hours away.
What unfolded next may have been the greatest distraction I have ever seen.
I need a hot dog.
He grabbed food from behind the counter and ate it right in front of the employee. All so I could get back into my house without anyone noticing.
What the
Hold me,
fuck?
bro. Dude, I really like hanging out with you, man. I'm gonna take a jack chicken 1, 2, thanks. I'm sorry, dude. You understand.
Today, Tyler was an artist, and the only thing the employees could do was watch him perform.
Oh! I love you guys. I'll be back once I get her.
Dude, that was actually an S-tier job. W in the comments for
What
Tyler.
the fuck?
Holy.
Dude, I actually was having a good time working there.
I don't know if you're getting a job there again, but love you, Ty.
Love you, dude. I'm here for you.
Thank you, I appreciate you. Go ahead and check love off the list, but it's not over.
Because there was still one question rattling around in my head. How long could I actually live here? But in the middle of the night, my luck ran out because what happened next was about to end everything. But I had no idea how much danger I was in until I checked the cameras.
That's not that bad. They can just stack it back up, no? That's not that bad.
I was certain it was only a matter of time until I was finally caught. My heart was racing.
That's
With
not
one
that
wall
bad.
already down, all it took was him inspecting the rest of the Celsius, and he'd find my door with me hiding right behind
Yeah,
it.
if he pulls it, okay,
But
yeah, fuck.
somehow, they never found the door to my house. They put all the
Yeah, just put the
Celsius
shit back.
in place and returned to the front to finish their shifts. And by the grace of the 7-Eleven gods, I made it to the morning. 7:46 in the morning. I don't know how I am still here. I just assumed that I was gonna get dragged out of here last night. When I first walked into this 7-Eleven, my only goal
Bro,
was
night
to survive.
You're not
But
thinking about
somewhere
shit like that
between
on a
these
night
2 nights
shift,
of
bro.
absolute
Especially if you got
chaos,
employees
I
at the front, you gotta hurry up
started
and
driving,
put that
managed
shit
to
back and go
accomplish
serve the
the
employees.
impossible. Because I did
You have time to
date
check the
night
rest.
in this 7-Eleven, and I did sneak
Just put
into
that
the
shit back up and
employee
let's go.
bathroom. And I did prove that I could secretly live here forever. So it was finally time to let the employees in on what was really going on.
But before that, breakfast. I have something to admit to you. I've been secretly living here. Okay. Come check it out. Pretty cool, right?
How long?
2 days.
Yeah, 2 days?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
No? You're not gonna call the cops, are you? Okay. All right. Well, 250,000 likes. We'll run this back. in
Fucking
space.
7-Eleven employees don't give a fuck, bro. They trying to get paid. The thing about shit like that is that you say you would check, but most 7-Eleven employees are like people working jobs like this. They don't give a fuck. They're trying to get their shit over with and go home. They don't give a fuck. You see, if this was a Chick-fil-A though, your ass is grass. But they don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to get my. That's not my problem. I'm trying to get my pay and go fucking home. Yeah, like what the fuck? They don't care, bro. Give me my damn paycheck, bro. Like if I was at a grocery store or some shit, if I'm not the manager, I don't give a fuck, bro. Like, give me my fucking food. I'm not giving my food. Give me my fucking paycheck. All right, that's enough. Let's play some Rivals now. I don't give a fuck. Give me my fucking paycheck. Give me my fucking paycheck, bro. Give me my fucking money.